Hello, everybody. Here is Tatiana Bazzichelli from the Disruption Network Lab, and I'm very happy to announce our Disruptive Fridays number 23, Expanding the Stream. And of course, I'm very happy to present the great speakers that will be with us today. Alexandra Weltz-Rombach, that is a filmmaker and producer. Oliver Baurhenn, that is the co-director of CTM Festival, that everybody knows. And then we have Klara Hobza, a great cross-disciplinary visual artist. Behind the scene, there is, as usually, Elena Velianowska and the Bowling Heads team that is doing the streaming, and Alanna Travers that is taking care of our chat. So I want to remind everyone, as usual, that we are visible both on our website, disruptionlab.org/Fridays, and also on YouTube. And we have a chat that you can reach from our website, and there you can ask questions. So there will be a moment in which then we will take your questions at the end of the conversation, and then we can interact directly with the people. So please follow us and remember to ask something to us. And so I'm very happy to present this specific Disruptive Friday, because for me there is a really red line that goes from the beginning of our streams to today. We started in April 2020, immediately after the pandemic started. And also I have to thank Klara because of great advices that she gave to us in imagining something that could also go beyond the stream. So actually the Disruptive Friday also started through a conversation with her that was pushing me to say, you know, this pandemic could also be a resource because we have the tools and the structure and the imagination to imagine to work with the digital in a way that could also be a new form of imagination, a new form of challenge, because we have been working with the digital for many years. So besides the first shock that everybody had, then we started to think, how can we do? And so we came up with the idea of the Disruptive Fridays. And I would say that there have been many organizations also that in this year created very interesting projects, experimenting with streaming, with online videos, with tools that allowed also the interaction of the public. And today we also want to touch these aspects. And I'm very happy to have people that are experts on these. And we are also trying to do the stream of today a bit more interactive, in the sense we will also show you some concrete examples of what this meant and how it was actually done. I would like to start to share the experience with Alex. And first, I want to introduce her properly. Also very happy to have Alex here. We know each other since many years now, like 17 years. We have been working since the early 2000s in Berlin to create projects together. And she is a filmmaker and a producer based in Berlin, as I say, also an expert of media activism. She's part of the Radical Film Network meeting Berlin and the Bufak Film Club that is promoting the visibility of experimental and documentary films in Berlin. At the same time, she's also a writer and director. She has worked on the TV documentaries Marx Reloaded or Antonio Negri, A Revolt That Never Ends. And recently, also in 2019, the Berlin Symphony of Now, and many other projects that Alex did in all these years. And since 2020, she's also the curator and owner of the Window Gallery Auslage in Berlin, that then we will discuss about. But today she is with us and also Oliver, because they will introduce a Streamback that was created by a group of Berlin media artists and cultural workers and was really well used during the CTM Festival. They will explain how and how this experience developed. So I will leave now the word to Alex. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tatiana, for setting this up. Yeah, it's a great keyword you gave with that this pandemic and this time we're just going through can also offer resources. And of course, for me as a producer and filmmaker, the start of last year was a little bit of a shock, and all my work had stopped a little bit. But then a friend of mine, Tim Ringewald, called, and he was asked by Oliver to start thinking about new ways of, creating interaction, actually in stream and online formats. And Tim has been working many years as a VJ and already developed a lot of formats that work with these kind of interactions of the public in video installations. So we got together as a big group of media and cultural producers and discussed ways of how it could be interesting to add to the streams that were popping up everywhere. I'm sure everybody has seen United We Stream DJ performance, and all last summer this was all over. And Oliver, of course, as a curator of CTM Festival, was already thinking, how can we make the festival more interesting? How can we get the audience back and also have some feedback also for the performers to see the people again that they're performing for. And yes, so this is exactly what we did. We got together with several people and developed this tool called Streamback, which we tested for on some events. And it's with all great tools. It's very simple to use. Basically, you just have to get an account, say that it's allowed to record your video and sound, and then you follow a stream of it's kind of aimed at party situations at the moment. So you follow a party, a DJ performance, and you dance at your house or you do funny, silly things, and you record yourself and you send it back into the stream. And then there we have a VJ installation, we have a beamer, and you can see yourself becoming part of the performance. And so to make this more understandable, I brought a little video which we could play where you see exactly how it works. You will understand it immediately. Yes, so I guess you can already understand how this works. It's very easy. And these two performances that you saw, one was a solidarity performance for Beirut with Morphin Records. And the other performances were done at the closing concert of CTM Festival. And yeah, it's really fun. And we could tell that during the evenings that we were applying Streamback, when the people started to party at home a little bit more, drink a little bit, start to have fun. Also, the videos, of course, got wilder, and it seemed like it was really a tool to enhance the fun of the audience, but also give the performer more of a sense of who are all these people watching out there. And yeah, basically, already during the work on this project, we discovered that there are already also other uses to this tool. We also developed something called the video recorder that works, as just something where you can just sign up, and there's like a central question, or maybe you want to send greetings to an institution or to somebody to congratulate them. And everybody can just record their greetings or dance or do whatever they want. And then you have all the videos come in the same format to one server, and you can take them edit them together and have a very nice video that's also very handy, especially in these times where we have all these online events where you want to ask all these people to come together and present something. So right now we're just trying to develop new formats, get our data structure and our backbone better together. And yeah, we're happy to take on new projects and looking forward to work more on Streamback.
Thank you, Alex. Also, I have to say already I was speaking with Klara about your Streamback, and she was telling me that she's so interested, who knows, maybe from this kind of interaction can also follow up something among the all of you. And now I would like to properly introduce Oliver. He will also go on speaking about Streamback and specifically tell us in which way it was developed and used during CTM Festival. I mean, I don't think we need to introduce the CTM because many people knows it, but otherwise I would say that is a very well-known festival for adventure music and art in Berlin. And Oliver joined the team of CTM already in 2000 and arrived in Berlin in the early 90s. I say that because you know, is a presence in the Berlin cultural scene since many years, and also involved in many associations that have been very important. For example, including DISC, Initiative Build and Tone e.V., and the general public project space that we all remember that unfortunately in 2014 had to cease to exist, but was a very important project in the city of Berlin. And in 2015, he was also interim managing director of the Germany's Art Association NGBK, the Neue Gesellschaft für Bildende Kunst. And since 2013, is a member of the Berlin Council for the Arts, or better, Rat für die Künste, and is one of the spokesmen together with Sylvia Ferman of the DAD Berlin. So with Oliver, we have a piece of the Berlin grassroots scenes, and we are very happy to understand how you developed the Streamback during CTM.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Tatiana. I'm thankful for the invitation. And as we agitated behind your back, I will not only present Streamback, but two other things that we co-developed at CTM Festival. Because I thought maybe, I mean, Streamback is a wonderful tool, but the big question for us as festival was, of course, why do we need tools whereas we could also have like wonderful, well-produced, pre-produced music videos like ones in the 90s and then stream them and be happy. So why are these tools so important as, for example, Streamback? I mean, it's not only that, of course, the performers are left alone without public, but also that the public is left alone or is left alone without him or herself. So I mean, streaming to view streamings is very singular and quite often a solo activity, and as it is actually not. So for Streamback, I mean, many people are sitting in front of their computer screens. This makes it visible. The viewers can participate and show themselves. And we also, now I would like to see the little video I brought, as it is also all about communities, it is also important like to bring people together. And it is quite a pity. We somehow did not check the videos, I think. This is the wrong one. A wonderful video. So we created a 3D space called Siberia, where we tried to invite everybody to be present as an avatar during the festival. This did not work out 100%. Nevertheless, the idea was good and set up only after the festival, as it is nowadays within the pandemic. I mean, all new digital technologies need their time, and sometimes we are all a little bit surprised that it takes longer than expected. And the third thing, and maybe the next video, please.
With Adventurous, you can support your favourite artist and know when they're performing at live events. You can reward them easily by transferring drops using our Drop app. The drop's financial value is supported by the organiser. After you register for an event, make purchases or interact with special features inside the programme, a QR code will be sent to your email. Just scan it or click on the link using your mobile device and you'll be taken to our Drop app in your browser. In your browser, click Claim Your Drops. Enter the email you registered for the event and then click on the verification link in your inbox. Now you're all set. You can send your drops to your favourite artist. Just click on the artist's name and choose how many drops you'd like to send them. That's it.
So as a third tool that we co-developed with Ape Unit, we introduced a sort of awarding app for artists. So of course, in these times of streaming, artists got from CTM naturally their normal or regular fee, but we invited our visitors to also give them a little bit of an awarding drop, which was then back at the end of the festival retransferred into money, because we asked or we invited people to buy solidarity passes, and we found different sponsors who provided a sort of amount of money that then at the end of the festival was divided by the amount of drops that were given out. So this was a way to make artists' life a little bit better and not to use platforms that are well known and everybody uses, but also to have a little bit fun in awarding money. And also what we did, we programmed that everybody could send the artist like emojis, like to interact with these. The artist did not have to do anything at the end. I mean, but this is probably like this is the next step to develop that there is an artist public communication in a safe way possible. And with Siberia, we wanted to have like the communities back that we normally welcome at CTM, and make it possible to experience artworks and also the program of CTM. And with Streamback, we wanted to give the artists a way to welcome their public again and not to leave them behind the screens, but also like everybody who was sitting as spectator behind the screen to come together in the space, in the digital space. And these were actually quite successful trials to bridge in a good way, like this boring thing, or like the mourning of everybody that we can't be together at a concert, but to say like, concerts, old-fashioned, this is so 20th century, and let's proceed to the 21st and find new solutions.
Thank you, Oliver. Did you mention also you had another video, or that's it?
No. All videos are fine.
Okay. Yeah, good. Just to be sure we were not missing pieces. Great, thank you. Then we will then come back to you and Alex asking some questions. But now I would like to introduce Klara, that she's also going to explain in which way she expanded the streams through her art. Klara Hobza is a cross-disciplinary artist that also lives and works in Berlin. And her work is very interesting because And that is why also is defined as cross-disciplinary, because combines very different media and practices, for example, videos, lectures, performance, sculpture, and also combining at the same time narration and transmission, migration, and also large-scale self-imposed endeavors, expanding the tradition of nature and also topics like humans and animals. And she usually collaborates with institutions from science and technology, and at the same time performs from musical and dance theater. She's working with the gallery Soy Capitan in Berlin, if you are interested also in visiting her works, and the Gallery for Landschaftskunst in Hamburg, and the Walburger Voters in Brussels. So, Klara, I leave the word to you, and I know that we have first to start with the video that also express very well what you do. So let's start with that.
Thank you very much, Tatiana, for the really awesome introduction and for playing this video. It's actually a video that I made 16 years ago, and I found it for this presentation because to me it represents this isolated reaching out, and of course Morse code being the archaic binary technology of instantaneous communication. And to me, what's very important is to express things through the material and through the actual very physical experience. So even when you just see it on the screen, you get at least a physical feeling in your own body through the empathy, or ideally you get an experience, of course, in person live. After we talked, you mentioned in the very beginning that we had this chat on the telephone when the pandemic very first started, and there was this big scare and nobody knew what was going on, and suddenly there was a lockdown and what to do now. And so the way you reacted, you were speaking about, and my very first reaction was to ask myself, okay, how can art, or the process, not actually the finished artwork, but the process of art making, what can it provide us now that would be the most valuable in this moment? And I came to the conclusion, and we can put in the first picture, it would be a sense of groundedness and focus and calm. Like that's what we need the most now. Next picture, please. So together with Berlin Drawing Room, we put together daily drawing meetings. Every day we met from 11 to 12 with a group of whoever wanted to participate. It was for free. And the frame was loosely drawing texture, because when you draw texture, you can really immerse yourself into strong details and do very deep observation. And I was the instructor of this. And from my knowledge and experience with things like martial arts and Tai Chi, I know how important, for example, breathing can be. So I included these kind of breathing techniques and meditation techniques, if you want, and physical awareness techniques into instructing the students, if you will, to go about working out the texture of whatever they had as a still life or whatever. Most of the time, and we were doing this for 3 weeks every day, it was potatoes. So that was my very initial reaction to it. I would like to go to the next slide, please. And to yet the next one. Yes, and so there is another piece called the Animalocolomat, and that one is, if you will, in our context, a meditation on the selfie and selfie culture. And again, for me, very important, going to the haptic, to the physical experience, and to the social experience. So the Animalocolomat, next slide, please, is a photo booth, and you go in and you press a picture and you select an animal, and you get to choose between 6 animals, and then you get a photograph, like from a typical photo automat, of yourself as that animal would see you. Next one. So it would be like the way the bat sees you, or the way the dragonfish sees you, or the snake, or the jumping spider. And this is, of course, totally not isolated, because a lot of people stuffed themselves into the booth. At the same time, a preview was loaded up onto the monitor, so people from outside could already see the filter of the person inside who couldn't see it. So the people from outside would be like, no, don't take the spider, take the bat, and so forth. So that was the Animalocolomat. Next slide, please. That would be an example. And next one, that was the snake. And then we have the jumping spider, and the next one is the squid, and the next one is that was the dragonfish. And so now I would like to go to the current project, and that's why I'm so excited about these live streaming things that you were just talking about, because I'm doing a collaboration with Rwandan Records. And Rwandan Records is a team of Rwandan artist Eric Wanki and Rwandan artist Chris Schwager in this case, and Berlin-based artist Milena Kipfmüller and Klaus Janek. They come from the fields of music and composition and performance, and Jens Dietrich is a how do you say, a regisseur, along with Milena Kipfmüller. We will post some links, if possible, into the chat, so you can look at it where it's coming from, because I'm running out of time. But soon we will be in Hamburg and do the production called Transforming Transforming Transmissions, and we will stream the audience in Kigali together with the audience in Hamburg, and build bridges.
Thank you. And I would like now to start with some questions. But first, Klara, just to be sure also we are not missing parts, what was this last video that we saw?
Yes, that was, to round it off, another desperate attempt of messaging from isolation.
Ah, okay. So it's like a subliminal message that you want to give to everybody. Good. No, just to be sure, also, you didn't want to describe more about that. Okay, then let's go back to Alex. Since we are also speaking about the idea of expanding the stream, I wanted to ask you something related to another activity that you were doing also physically in the city of Berlin, because initially I mentioned that you are running this gallery that is a window gallery called Auslage. And I'm very interested to understand how did it work during the pandemic? Were you able to involve audience in that context? So what was this experience? Was in a sense expanding the stream because it was really in the city, but through a window. So can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, basically, I was taking all my 90s experience of Berlin also to use spaces that don't have any other use anymore. And so there was this window in an office across the street from Markthalle 9 in Pücklerstraße. And actually, I always insist that I had the idea already in January. So there was already Corona, but nobody knew how bad it would be. And so I decided I want to start my own gallery there. And I had a case built kind of to represent the gallery. And I just started to exhibit books, exhibit ideas, sometimes admire other artists and try to build, to model their artwork, and then just invite people as soon as it was possible again and stand outside in the street with, of course, social distancing, have a drink and a chat and, have a possibility to come together. And apparently, of course, this is the common format with galleries right now, that everybody, of course, is looking at the windows and what to do, when you can't enter the gallery. So it's been really successful, and I was able to get a grant from the Bezirk, and I'm doing a series right now over the summer on female and queer artists from the 80s in Berlin, and try to introduce them to the artists that are coming to Berlin right now, and try to make some connections. And you should really check it out. We had a great performance just 2 weeks ago, and it will go on all over the summer, and hopefully we can have openings and drinks and just hang out together.
Great. And just to understand better, how long will be this current project visible in the gallery?
Oh, it's an ongoing gallery. And actually, I have people calling from the street who live there, who want to also do windows. So there are enough ideas to fill it for a while. And of course, it's only a side project, and my jobs are starting to come in as a filmmaker and producer. But yeah, I mean, it's a great thing to run this and to add some color to the city again.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And I then pass it to Oliver. I wanted to ask something more about Streamback and the way you use it at CTM. Since, I mean, the whole point from what we understood is that this tool also allows the public to become a part of the performance and create a participation that is a bit more tangible rather than just imagining that there is an audience somewhere. And how did it work in terms of participation? What was your experience? And do you think to expand it more in the future for other projects?
Microphone, new technologies, and all technologies. So this is a very interesting question, because first of all, there is always the saying, yeah, when the pandemic is over, then we go back to normal and we'll have concerts, etc. Questionable if that will happen, but might be. Then second is also for our upcoming festival, as one of my colleagues quoted, everything I predicted for this year went into the most wrong direction. So opening maybe again September 2020, no, then more almost shut down again. So CTM is also thinking of, it's planning at the moment a hybrid version of the festival. So partially on site, partially digital. And we will go with the flow. So definitely we are going to develop further also tools as Streamback or the other tools, Siberia, and the Drop app probably further in as it is, let's say, along our festival. And the topic, as the topic was thankfully transformation last year, which was, this year, which was a little bit accidental because the topic was already there just after the edition in February 2020. It was a sort of prediction of the upcoming edition 2021. And I
my
think
question was about the participation.
Exactly. And I think what everybody could not see on the first sight, and also as the pandemic was considered shorter, that the participation of the public is like amazingly important also online, because it keeps also communities together. It creates platforms of exchange. And when we use Streamback in the concert program for the last evening, it was quite clear that, for example, all the fans of the three bands who were like performing had now finally again the possibility to be present. And plus, of course, we asked people to send in, following the artist's proposal, thematic videos like Shadow or something. So we gave some nice words, and you could then record yourself under the topic Shadow, that was then used by the visual artists to create. And there also like a link back to the 90s, as Alex also did with Galerie Umlage, to tools that were developed in these years, but did stop somehow to be developed further due to other technologies taking over. And for Streamback, it is actually based on a sort of VJ, or like the basic idea was used, and the material was used from the basic idea first in the 90s also as VJ software, base for VJ performances, and actually this is now like an updated one for the digital age. And I think for the audience it was quite a pleasure to be part of something again and not to be excluded. So it's also a re-evaluation of the public at the end of the day. And I don't know, I mean, we had fun. Maybe others might criticize that, but definitely it is still all an experiment. And also public participation is an experiment because there were no experts at the beginning of the pandemic, and we all had to train ourselves and within our communities and with the help of our amazing friends who needed support to develop ideas. Did it answer the question?
Also from what I understood, was interesting because was a collective project also in the creation of it, since many people in Berlin also worked implementing this tool. And I wanted to ask you if some of the people watching us today would like to see the results on the CTM website. Is possible to see some of these clips? How does it work?
The clips itself are under data protection, so we can't send them around or publish them without consent. And I think also like it's only like a puzzle piece in the bigger picture. But of course, we have in our archive on our website many links that also lead to the archive program on YouTube. So there is also the last night of CTM present with stream back end. You will also find much more information around it and the other tools CTM used for its last edition. And as I said, let's see what we can reuse or develop further for 2022.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Also interesting this discourse of the privacy related to it. This open another debate that I also find it very interesting. But let's now pass to Klara and discuss a bit more in depth the way she expanded the idea of art production into the streaming and visual technology and trying to bypass the lockdown, the isolation. You were also mentioning to me that you developed a project on Instagram that was asked by the Berlin Art Link. Could you tell us more about this experience and how it works, since also was a very great collective project involving a lot of artists and also musicians and many people from Berlin and globally? Can you tell us more?
Yes, so basically Berlin Art Link decided to give the microphone and the stage to the artists, and each of the selected artists got their Instagram account for a 24-hour takeover. So during these 24 hours, you had access to both the live stories as well as the feeds, and to do with them whatever you want. And what I think was the great opportunity of that is to bring it again to the person. So this was during the first lockdown again, and it was moving away from the presented staged product or end result of the art, and I think it was an attempt at empathy to really have the artists as people connect with the people who were watching this. And also there was a chance to look really deeper into the reasons of that each person had to make art, or the motivation behind it. And it created a chance of a new community somehow. Yeah. And so in my case, I would, during my 24 hours, I would again go into this combination of martial arts and art making, and then show my training and share that with whoever was enjoying that, and then went into my studio and spoke about, for example, the drawing practice and so forth. But then in the end, I went live with my friend Atara Valentine, who at that time, he's in Los Angeles. And at that time, he was working on sound pieces in his pop music, basically, that had sounds and frequencies that trigger healing in people, and also calmness and so forth, and combined that with pop. And so we spoke a lot about that. And he's also kind of hypnosis therapist. So we spoke about his aims toward helping people to lead them towards authenticity. So of course, for us artists, authenticity rather than beauty that's the core, And in LA, it's more, the core is more beauty. So along those lines were our conversations. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I already saw there are some questions coming from the audience, but first I wanted to ask you something, then we can read what they ask, and also I invite again the audience to ask more on our chat. If you are following us on YouTube, you can go on the website disruptionlab.org/Fridays, and you can ask the questions to us via chat. So my question for everybody was, in a sense, a bit of a reflection on the interruption of cultural life in Berlin that we all experience, and of course not only in Berlin, basically everywhere. And probably also had similar conversation with people. There were some saying, I finally take a sabbatical year, so I don't have any more, the usual obligation. I can stop a bit. Others instead started to be really, having a lot of work to do because of the online organization of million events or other million calls that we are all experiencing. And others instead also suffer from this because the cultural spaces were closed, people could not perform, many people also got unemployed. And I wanted to ask to all of you, the big question in a sense, but we can try to fragment it a bit. What shall we learn from this pandemic, and what do you think will be the impact of it in the cultural scene of Berlin in short and long terms? What did you learn from these moments of these months? Who wants to start? Maybe we can start with Klara, that was the last one speaking.
Yes. There were so many great experiences. I think if we go backwards, so right now the nice experience is that when galleries are now open, you have to book a time slot. So it's usually only one person, oftentimes, or a very small amount of people who are in the space, and they really make the effort and to book the slots, to take a test and all these obligations to go there. And so instead of just consuming in gallery hopping style kind of art, then you really take your time for half an hour to really consider what you're looking at and why you are there. And an equal amount of generosity, in my experience, came from the gallery staff or the directors or whoever is there, to really have a conversation, to really consider the individual who's there. So that's like a big gift from this experience, is that people really look eye to eye, human to human, and yes, and take some time finally. And then, yeah, what you just described about the sabbatical, that was my personal experience for sure, that I could really focus on work and experiment with, in a way that otherwise I couldn't be, because in my case, I'm kind of so-called mid-career artist. I don't have so much time to really take risks, most of the stuff I do instantly has to go into the public or be presented or presentable. So it was a way to kind of go back to school for myself.
Yes, and I think also the drawing class you just mentioned was probably a very interesting moment in which you could slow down and also give importance to observation. I think that is for sure a great experience that we should all learn from.
Yeah, for sure.
Oliver, would you like to tell us a bit about your experience, and what do you think will be the impact in Berlin of all this?
My own experience, I mean, I have to be, first of all, thankful that nobody out of my closer circle died of COVID, because this, I thought, was like the most impactful experience of so many people dying at the end of the day. And I mean, also a virus is always this kind of unknown that is invisible and then constantly present. So, of course, as everybody experienced, this was a wonderful, I mean, in front of this background, we acted, and in our team, of course, we had like, I mean, like sometimes these words of pre-pandemic, like lifelong learning, flexibility, being innovative, etc. I was like thinking how sarcastic were these words at these times, because nobody really innovated. I mean, generalization, but like innovation was much less, and now we were really kicked with the S into these to fill these words, and this was also what happened to CTM, of course. I mean, we are all don't have a clue about how to present content digitally. I mean, this was like a niche. And so all this lifelong learning and doing a sort of unwillingly an apprenticeship was like an amazing stress test for everybody. And of course, some people deal a little bit better, some others not so good. And I think what will stay is, I mean, of course, many people who know how it goes know this is already good. And what I thought was like quite interesting. I mean, for the city of Berlin, it's a good question. I mean, like, of course, my wish is that due to, I mean, here in Germany, we were quite well off with all these so this aids, Soforthilfen. But I think what might be quite interesting when now many companies don't need their offices anymore. So I was wondering what kind of new opportunities this might provide, or empty shops that are now again available probably, and also like new ways of acting. I mean, it would be great if Berlin would be much more all-weather city, so that you can also present art outside in the streets, and you don't have to in winter and autumn, and don't have to wait for summer and spring. So I think and plus much more people went out into nature, so also the relation between us humans and nature, if you want to do this as dichotomy, but which is of course not only which is not existing, but let's say many people have now a closer feeling what nature is, and also thought back like, how do I bake bread, or how do I this and that? So like, I think this might change a lot, and also for Berlin as a city, and yeah, and also for CTM as a team, it changed a lot. And as we are now trained, but of course it was like with a lot of loss of nerves, and it was a lot of tears and frictions. So the team is still together. It is good. So I hope we will survive another 22 years after this stress test.
Yes, I would say this is the same for everyone. And personally, I look forward to go back to our office, because in a sense I have been missing it. So I hope that this part of the life is still going on, to share a physical space. And Alex, what do you think? How did you experience this, and what do you think about the impact in Berlin?
I think what has been really great is that you were able to look into everything that's going on worldwide. The access you had suddenly last spring. I mean, I had a whole week where I was watching every opera production of the Metropolitan Opera in New York, and because they were online all of a sudden, so every lunch I would see another opera, and so it went on and on. I went to the theater, I went everywhere. I mean, of course, you get a little bit of back pain after a while from sitting on your desk all day and watching these things, but it's been great. And also the other way around, you know, that you can suddenly, you don't have to think about flying, keep getting people here. You can just invite everybody who you just want to talk to your events. And, you know, it's much more accessible in both directions. So I think this is not going to roll back. I think every event is going to think now to have some sort of hybrid situation to involve all these people and get all the voices that you want to get in. And I think this is an exciting opportunity. And this is also something we would like to explore more with Streamback, of course, you know, how to get these connections and how to really develop the technology to do this.
Thank you. I like that you are always very positive. You know, in this situation of desperation, there is always the great moment you say, yeah, that is actually true. I have a lot of questions actually from our audience, so now I will try to combine them a bit. I put the glasses because I'm getting old. So there is a practical question for CTM, so I suppose Oliver needs to answer. Hoping that we would be able to go back to normal events in 2022, are you planning to use further develop of these new tools in a sort of hybrid format? And how?
Yes, said we are planning a hybrid format. So let's say at the moment the easy way in real life performances and parallel online chosen artworks that would be interesting to stream. Plus, our complete discourse program will be directly streamed live, which we really enjoyed already this year. And everything further, I mean, of course, we try to use also the tools we developed for the last edition and to develop these further. I mean, what we don't know yet, but the big challenge will be how to reconcile also the real life with the digital the digital life, and how to build bridges for the manifold of CTM visitors that are not on site and but would like to get to know something, and vice versa. So this will be an interesting question, how to reconcile that. I mean, what I'm also looking forward to do.
Mm-hmm. And there is another question that I think perhaps Alex could answer. Do you know of other fresh, exciting live streaming channels of new shared live experience that perhaps are using XR? Or maybe without XR, something that is more related to other shared live experience, other projects that are, similar to the one you develop. Do you know something related to that?
Actually, I have to say I did not come across too many things that were popping up, I have to admit. One thing I noticed, which I really enjoyed, is that AR is really going through the roof, that there are all these AR projects that are happening, coming from the UK a lot with acute art. And I really enjoyed this, and I would love to explore this a little bit in the Galerie Auslage as well. And of course, I mean, you have this whole explosion with NFTs and all the developments in the art scene. Yeah, for me, that's more something that came out of this out of the situation. But with streaming and live interaction, I have to say, I'm stuck with Instagram.
Okay, great. And Klara, instead, of course, as was predictable, the people got really excited of the animal oculomat. And they would like to know if they can try this out also already this year. Where it is possible to see it? Do you plan something with that?
Well, it went on tour, and during this whole lockdown time, it was in Switzerland at Naturama in Aargau, like a ghost behind closed doors. And there it will be. Now they're open again for another couple of months. And then, to be honest, I don't know what to do with it because I can't afford storing it. So I might just keep the technical core and throw away the architecture. And then with the next possibility to show it, then maybe build a different architecture or something. I hope it will survive.
Thank you. Then I would say his last question, because we are running out of time, is a bit more general. So I think each of you can answer. I was wondering if all of you think that interaction between us would continue to be interrupted, like either via streaming tools, avatars, etc. How do you see basically this future of interruption?
Maybe I think I think the tools that we develop now will continue to exist and be expanded. But I think everybody's just waiting to get on a dance floor and be with people again. And I'm quite hopeful that there will be a great appreciation for the arts and also for coming together in our social life. And that we just enjoy each other's company again.
And Oliver, you were also saying something?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I hope that some things are also staying, because, like, we also saw that streaming and all the tools that belong to this help to bring people together via continents, wherever. I mean, what we thought the internet would already do massively, which is also doing, but I think now with the streaming times, it's really interesting who's collaborating, who is working together, what is the ideas flowing, and as much I love the club, but it's also an exclusive space. So what we also saw was like the opening up of this realm of music. I mean, I don't talk about the Berghain door, but so that I mean, many artists that were not so well known were suddenly much more present than the usual suspects, and I think also, like, the public was much more diverse. I mean, like, there are friends of mine, they are like in their 70s, that love to go clubbing but don't do it anymore due to having problems being old, to put it short. And I mean, they could follow then the music developments. And even all my friends who were then the breastfeeding mothers, it's my most beloved example, because when you ask why the gender gap is there, then maybe also one of the many fold answers is that, yeah, because women are forced to sit at home with their freshborn babies for 9 months and to give, or whatever, how long you breastfeed. Did never do it, but they are in this exclusion, and this also was these walls were also broken down, and suddenly they could follow the discourse program, concerts, whatever cultural activities, and were never kicked out of regular life. So I think what we also have to think about, I mean, it would be great if streaming stays in some ways, also to abolish these kind of, I mean, next to the others that we experience in real life, ways of discrimination and exclusion, because I think also from CTM experience, I mean, physically, I think we never had like people from Mongolia or Turkmenistan or wherever remote, interesting corner of the world that were then also participating in the chats and giving their opinion. So, I mean, if you opt for diversity and less discrimination, I think these tools are necessary. So, if not, we might fall in old traps.
Thank you, Oliver. And Klara, do you want to conclude this round of reflection?
Yes, it's slightly next to what you just asked, but connected to your question and connected to what Oliver hinted at before. Actually, I just remembered that I think we got a little taste of how it's like to live in fear and in insecurity of what will come next, and existential fear of our health, the health of our loved ones, and of our financial existence, and what the immediate and also what the future will bring. And we live such a privileged life here and in this system, but there I think we got a tiny taste, and it's a good thing to keep in your mind and to remember that actually most people in the world have a much more extreme everyday life of this. And so not so much about technology and streaming is my answer, but more about the psychological aspect of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, unfortunately, we are out of time. So I really have to thank you, all of you, for this great contribution. So thanks a lot, first of all. Before closing, I would like to announce what is coming next, also from our side. We are planning our next Disruptive Fridays next week on May 28th, and will be moderated by our colleague Nada Baker. The topic will be digital futures, and is featuring the project from the New Fellowship. For people that don't know, this fellowship is an initiative by the Bertelsmann Stiftung's Ethics of Algorithm, and also Superlab in collaboration with the Allianz Kulturstiftung and the Goethe Institute. And these projects explore the multitude of digital futures, combining experiences of migrant, Black, indigenous, and people of color, queer, trans, and marginalized genders' voices that are reclaiming international digital spaces. So we will have with us Andrew Mellinson, Imogen Malpas, Irem Kurt, Anna Filippa Maceira, and as I say, will be moderated by Nada Baker. Also important to say that this will be our last events of the series that started already months ago, supported by the European Culture Foundation, Culture of Solidarity Funds, and also part of the Reimagine Europe, co-funded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union. So I want also to thank our funders. And since we were speaking about the global aspect, I also want to remind the audience that our next conference that we are really hoping to do physically at the Kunstquartier Bethanien at the Sun, that is our usual venue, will be called Powers of Truths, and will deal with the discourse of art, technology, and resistance in China. This is planned between the 1st and the 3rd of October. So we are optimistic as well, and we are trying to imagine a hybrid format conference with people physically with us and other people also virtually connected. And even more optimistic, the 25th of June, we are planning our first physical event after all these months, and we want to do it at Quds, and will be a film screening about the story of Matt the Heart. Is a film from Sonia Kennenbeck that also we had with us in the past at the Disruptive Fridays, telling the story of Matt the Heart. That is a very complicated story that has to do a lot with secrecy, surveillance, and also the discourse of the anonymous entity. So I hope you will join us in Akuds and later at the Kunstquartier Bethanien. And of course, you will also go following and visiting all the great projects of Alex, Oliver, and CTM, and Klara. And I really want to thank you a lot, and also thanks again to the great team that is always creating the production of these Disruptive Fridays. And see you next Friday at 5 p.m. as usual, the 5-hour p.m. in Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.